from John Winger. It's at John Winger 98524. His question: what are the scouts saying about the 2024 quarterback draft class halfway through the season? Has May passed Caleb? Is Bo Nix a legit guy at QB, or is he Mac Jones? Let's start with the first piece of this. And that's the first three picks. That's Caleb Williams in Chicago. That's Jaden Daniels in Washington. That's Drake May in New England. All three of those guys, I think, have lived up to expectations. Has it been perfect? No. Has Jaden Daniels been ahead of the other two? Yes. But I think, if you're talking about like what you thought they were going to be, all three of those guys are at least at the level that you thought they'd probably be at as rookies if they developed into what everybody thought they would be, which I think basically underscores the fact that if any of these three guys were available in 2025, like going into the Carson Beck, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers draft class, like any of these three guys would be the number one overall pick. And I don't think there'd be much argument over it. So I think May would be the first pick this year. I think Jaden would be the first pick this year. I think Caleb would be the first pick this year. Now, if you had to redraft them, is there a chance that Jaden would go first? I don't think for everybody, but I think there will be more people who would pick Jaden over Caleb now than there were back in April. That's just the reality of the situation, how well Jaden's played there. Now, that said, I think you do have to remember the context here, which is that Jaden Daniels started 55 games in college. He was a 5-year starter, which is an anomaly of the COVID era. He was a multi-year starter at 2 separate Power 5 schools and 2 separate Power 5 conferences. And so in a lot of ways, like the fact that Jaden Daniels has played better out of the box than anybody else should have been expected. Caleb is going to be an interesting case study going forward. They obviously move on from their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. They'll go to Thomas Brown now. There could be more changes coming after the year. And so you're sort of throwing his career in a blender a little bit. This is a critical point for Caleb Williams and his growth. I really liked where he was coming out of that Washington game, because even though they got beat on the Hail Mary, like he showed an ability to compartmentalize struggles within a game. So the first 3 quarters, he did not play well and lead them back at the end. And it wasn't his fault they gave up the Hail Mary at the end. He played well at the end of that game. So I actually liked where he was coming out of that. And then the last 2 weeks, it hasn't looked good at all. And so how much of that's the scheme, how much of that's the coaching, how much of that's Caleb himself, we'll see. Obviously, there's some big picture questions to answer here. And I think there are going to be some things to watch, like how much do they have him playing off of deep drops, which they had last week a couple of times with the backup tackles, and it didn't work. How much do they put in elements where they're moving him around, where, yes, it makes it easier on him, but you're sort of taking away his playmaking ability, which I think was one of the things that was going wrong with them over the last couple of weeks. It's like you get him on the move and you get him on the edge and you're putting him out there, and maybe you're making things a little bit easier on him from a read standpoint, but you're taking away his ability to make plays. All of those things I think are in play. Drake May, again, since he's been in there, has looked really good. He's progressing, I think, week over week. Still has a ways to go, but he was seen as the most raw of these three. So I'd say all three of these guys are in a good spot going forward, and the teams feel good about them, are going to feel good about them going into 2025. As for Bo Nix, there was a play in that Chiefs game where I really thought, this is the guy. This is the guy right now that they were hoping they would get. It was the very end of the game. It was 3rd and 6. And if he doesn't pick up that first down, it's a long field goal for Will Lutz, and the Chiefs are getting the ball back with almost 2 minutes left. And on that play, they got beat off the edge. They had a tight end blocking George Karlaftis. Karlaftis, beats the tight end off the line. It was Adam Troutman, I believe, and gets in the backfield. And Bo Nix needs to move up in the pocket, needs to keep his eyes downfield, and needs to deliver a ball over linebackers that had dropped off and simulated pressure. And he does all of those things and puts the Broncos in position to run the clock down and put Will Lutz in position to kick the game-winning field goal with no time left, which obviously didn't work out, but it was like a little thing that I saw from Bo Nix that shows that he's making progress. Is his ceiling as high as the other three? I don't think so. I know some people in Denver would argue with me on that, but certainly some good signs. And this looks like a really good quarterback class in general through the first 10 weeks of their rookie year.